talking about volunteerism, it has engaged my mind for a long time. I believe that the first thing volunteerism does, of course there's an altruism in it, but first thing that it gives back to the giver is the power of initiative. You can't volunteer unless you're saying, I will do it. A volunteer is not a person who is waiting for instructions. So, you have developed through volunteerism the power to take initiative. Second is you can't volunteer unless you have ownership. You want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. You own that. Said, "Main karunga," you know. The third thing is when you volunteer, you typically don't know the solution. Okay? So you're in a sense out of depth many times. So you need to actually have problem solving capability. With jumping into something to help somebody else, there's so many variables. So you have to have initiative, you have to have ownership, and third, you need to have problem solving capability. Then, automatically as you do that, you improve your creativity because you have to be creative to be a problem solver. Along the way, you are actually sharpening your capability to collaborate. So you are improving your collaborative skills, which is a non-trivial thing. I think SPIC MACAY is a fine example of collaboration. You couldn't have built this platform today that you have built unless essential core to the whole organization was how do you pull in people and make people collaborate. Now, high-strung, egoistic, highly creative, highly capable people, what does it take to make 4 of them collaborate? So collaborative skills. And finally, it's about innovation. So when people volunteer, they're actually sharpening these capabilities inside them. And I have not known a single organization anywhere in the world which does not actually value this for top management or leadership. You require a high degree of leverage. All that comes from volunteerism. In the process, the giver gets back far more than the giver has given. Today, if we look at art, literature, culture, Indian heritage, there's a strong power of visualization to it. Unless you are able to see in images, we can't have breakthroughs. Please tell us about that, starting with the idea of visualization.
I'm just telling you what I had the good fortune of working with 2 people, very different, but one was when I went to Columbia University, I was I heard that we are going to have this course by this great master. He was a top mathematician of the world at that time, Professor David Sigmund. So I was very excited. I went there and he was giving the lecture and it was going right up like that. So I went to his chamber and I said, sir, after a month I went there and I said, sir, I thought I was a bright guy, but I don't understand what you're saying. He said, no, Kiran, you're doing fine, and he pushed me out. And what happened was that I finished the course, but felt that I should not do a PhD because if I can't understand this fundamental course, I shouldn't be doing it. So I went and joined Columbia University Business School. But in the 2-3 months, everything of what Professor David Sigmund said fell into place visually, like a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, I'm really not joking. I felt as though I could almost see some of the concepts of probability theory that he had taught us during that period. So it was like a delayed response, but it was something which was so inspiring that I said I must run back and do my PhD. Similarly, what happened was with Ustad Raja Nagar, when I came back, I wanted to learn, I was very interested in classical music. I got touched by it as a very abstract and a very powerful mode of reaching out right deep within. So I said I want to learn this Drupad with Ustad Raja Miyan Sahab. So I wrote to him And he said, yeah, come. So during my holidays, I went to Kolkata and I stayed with him. And he would do something similar. He would make me sit in the corner. He'd say, Sa lagao Kiran. Sa. 1 hour sa. Sa 2 hours. Sa 8 hours. Next day again, sit down, sa lagao. Sa. So this kept on happening. I thought he didn't want to teach me. But I still stuck it out for that month, and when I went back, I was very disheartened. I said, I came here to learn and nothing, I didn't learn anything. Again, the same thing happened. Few months after that, all what this man said, this great man, I shouldn't say man, the great Sufi mystic, I would call him a Sufi mystic, he said started falling in place again like a jigsaw puzzle. And one could actually visualize, at least I really felt I could visualize what this person was saying. So what I'm trying to mention to everybody here is that what is required for this visualizing of deep concepts is patience, certain degree of patience, and a certain degree of faith. If you have these two and you have a good master who can guide you to it, then sky's the limit. Then you start from there, you start visualizing this, then you start going from there to this, and then this to this to this. So it's like a cascading effect it has. And I think that's how the creativity, that's how I think creativity actually in anything would come. But I would not even like to limit it to creativity. I'd like to, finally I'd like to relate it to an experience. Really. I mean, I can't forget, some of the experiences. Yeah.
So I can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And maybe you should talk about your black box experience, the first black box experience that you had in Columbia University, listening to the Nagar brothers.
The black box is something like this, that most of the time what is happening is that the way I'll first generalize it and then come to this specific thing. The concept in India has been, as I understand it, the delta tending to 0, but whatever little I understand, has been that we have wanted to answer questions in this lifetime of a very, 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 very magnificent nature. It's not like, say, I want to make a driverless car. Don't mind my putting it that way, okay? But the objective function in making a driverless car by Elon Musk, Tesla, is very limited. You just think of it. So what if you have a driverless car? The concept which was there in this country was, the objective function was Vishal, huge, nowhere near which Tesla car can come near, nowhere. Okay, but what I'm just mentioning here is that concept, how can you reach? West is doing it also. It's not that they're not doing it. Tesla car will come, then next will come, robots which will have full intelligence, partial intelligence, etc., etc. It's going to approach it. Definitely the same point is going to be brought, but it's a much slower process. Here we said, no, we are going to wait. I want to jump right there. So I use a simulation concept. I use this black box concept and I say, look, let me try out different inputs and look at the outputs. And keep changing the input and find out the optimal output based on the inputs. And don't worry too much about what's going on in the black box. It's similar in Ayurveda also. If you see in the system of medicine, it's in everything, it's somewhat like that. We didn't cut open people to find out, look, this part of both are important. Please don't, I'm not deriding one. I'm not deriding the West. It's very, very important. Once you get cancer, you can't say, look, I'm going to now look at it as a black box. You'll have to cut it open and take out the cancerous growth. But what I'm just mentioning, the concept in which we operated was this black box idea. You take an input, try out different inputs, and take the output and say, this is the way. And then you get the intuition of what's happening in the black box. So it's very similar to that what happened here. got it by fluke. Why should it be by fluke? I just went to a few concerts, etc., etc. That one concert which we went was like the culmination of a growth process which was happening below the ground when you plant a seed which was planted in IIT Kharagpur in the overnight concerts. The seed came out of the ground through two little maybe one little leaf came out that day. So you could see it only that day. But the growth was happening before. I didn't even know of it. So it was like an input going to the concert, and the output was I saw the little leaf. And I said, Bhai wah, kya baat hai? So what I'm trying to point out is that this particular process is something which we are not sort of now so much, we want to see it. Like, Ramanujam would say, I can see this the answer. Hardy said, nahi, ye to nahi chalega. You can't do it like this. You have to give it in a regular proof. And he showed him how to do. Both are important. It's not that I'm not trying to, as I said, deride. But he could actually see the answer. Now what does that mean? I don't know what that means exactly. But I do know a little bit. Again, delta tending to 0.
So here's a question that I'm sure will engage many people in the audience, engages even people like me, who are closer to you in terms of age. And that is the subject of clutter. How do you declutter yourself? Because from the time that you had your sense of purpose and you came back from US, you could have stayed back in Bell Labs, you could have gone to UCLA, you could have gone to wherever you want, the whole world was available to you. You come back as an assistant professor to the IIT Delhi, and then you also realize that that may be your day job, but you have to make SPIC MACAY happen. And to make that happen, there's so much distraction.
Yeah.
A huge distraction possible. And you talk about focus in your conversations with many people. That look, if you want to do something significant, then you have to focus, which means that, and focus is elemental to yoga.
Sure.
And that means that you need to be able to choose something and stay with it.
Correct.
And that means that you give up clutter. Whereas in current day, I won't say this generation, but current day, there's information overload, there's social media, there are distractions. Your people can get famous overnight. At 21, you could be a super celebrity. Not 21, maybe at 14 you can be super celebrity. Maybe at 12. Yeah. And then you are deeper and deeper into clutter. And then you do not know what you stand for. You don't know why you've been sent here in the first place. So please talk to us about clutter and how you dealt with clutter. And you do it so effortlessly. It is like shedding and just giving off and moving on. And I think if SPIC MACAY is 40 years old today, it is because it has stayed a course. And of course, one big thing about decluttering is probably simplicity. But what is your thought? How do we declutter ourselves? It's so easy to get cluttered today.
I think the best way to declutter yourself is if you are touched. If you are touched by something, then वही दिखाई देता है. और सब कुछ is you are doing it, but it's all. So if you are touched by something, and to be touched by anything, you have to work very, very, very sincerely. It's like I don't know whether there's God or there's no God or what, but there are some higher forces, some higher thing which is there, where there is if I am sincere in whatever I do, and I work hard at that, I will find something which will touch me. I got it by fluke, but I don't consider it fluke.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
I will not consider it fluke. It is, for everybody else it's a fluke, but inside my head I know it's not a fluke. Yeah. So for that, any of these young people, if they really want to declutter themselves, what is clutter? It means that this is also important, that's also important, that's also important, that's also, what should I do? I'm trying this, I'm trying this, I'm trying this, I'm trying this. But if you find nothing is as important as this one thing, which has touched you very, very, very deeply, then you just go like, like a laser beam, phachak se, in that direction. So that's, I think, the way they have to declutter. You have to be very, very sincere, work very hard. And the beauty is that, somebody says, sir, I got into a wrong course. I said, don't worry. Even if you're on the wrong course, row the boat.
Yep.
Row the boat sincerely. And it'll take you to a shore where there'll be another boat waiting. I'll take you to a better boat, which will take you to a better direction. Again you will say that, no, sir, this also didn't suit me. Row that boat again sincerely. You'll find another boat. Till you find that boat which will be the correct boat for you. Don't think that we all think that we are in the wrong place. Many of us think we are in the wrong place. I'm really telling you. You go and talk to students, because I'm dealing with students every day. So I keep listening to this. I say, look, sir, I got in the wrong shouldn't have been in engineering. I shouldn't have been in this. I said, no, you have been, you do it nicely, you do it with sincerity, and you will get something much, much more than that.
See, in fact, it's so nice that you say that. My wife Sushmita, who's here, she used to do a lot of cross-stitch and used to bring a lot of American cross-stitch books from the library. It's very fascinating when you look at the tradition of quilting and cross-stitching. One of the cross-stitch pictures that I saw in one of her books was a picture of a tree, and below that was written, "Grow where you are planted." So a tree has no choice where it is either planted or the seed falls.
Yes.
And then you just come out of the earth.
Absolutely.
And you didn't choose that place, somebody else chose it for you.
Yeah.
But yet tree does its absolute best to grow, to bring out the flowers, the fruits, and be beneficial to others. And contrast that with most of us, we think we are in the wrong place, we are with the wrong people, we are with the wrong purpose, we are in the wrong course. So maybe a couple of questions we would love to actually enjoy Ustad ji then to be our...
There's a very great program. I don't know whether you've heard of him, but he's one of the last great masters of the Agra Gharana. He's one of the person who's going to be singing, Raja Miyan ji. Is one of the last great masters of the Agra Gharana. And the Agra Gharana was really a very, very beautiful... I feel so sad when I see that we may not be able to hear again this Gharana, too much. Because I don't find many people coming up in that. But it was a very unique thing because it was a cross between... It was like the transition between Drupad to Khyal. So they have... It's a very beautiful cross between the two, I feel. And it would be really nice if the young people get a chance to hear him.
No, absolutely. So we'll try and wind this up in under 7 or 8 minutes. Yeah. And, so we talked about clutter. Now, moving on, one of the things that fascinates me about SPIC MACAY is it's a fine example of institution building. And it has happened because of many people's coming together. Okay. And I guess there is an element of vision in it, but more than the vision, there's a sense of purpose. Yes. How do you build sense of purpose in institutions and in groups of people where more and more there is cynicism? People are losing faith in institutions. People are losing faith in, what were taken as traditional holy grail. The support systems are falling apart. We don't know who to trust. We don't know who to believe. In an, fairly difficult situation, and it's not about an, thing that's typical to India. I think globally we are going through a very difficult phase.
Very true.
I have never seen this intensity, so many things happening in such a short period of time. And we can all explain it away saying that this information overload, just all the problems are always there, but we simply didn't know. Now we have the power or curse of knowledge. So it's not that. But going back, how do you inculcate the sense of purpose that helps create large organizations that withstand time? 4 decades is a long time. How do you do that?
See, one thing is there that, first of all, I don't think we sort of built a organization. I don't think it's that way. I think it just evolved. I think what happened is, it again comes down to this thing of being touched. Because what happens is when you are touched, then what you do is you reduce your ego. You don't say, look, I'm the big boss. I'm just one of the persons who's been touched. Hey, you too can be touched. You too can be touched. So what you try and do is, that experience, it's like having some wonderful thing that you've eaten, like a wonderful cake or something like that, and you say, look, why don't you also try it? And not saying that I've baked the cake or I've done any such thing. So what I think is that in building a real true
institution,
if you want to call it, or building a movement. I would like
you
to
like
call
the
it
word Andolan.
Because it's a movement.
You talk about Andolan.
Yeah, so I would just say, look, this is what I have experienced, and I'm saying it truthfully. I know that it's very, very, I can only say that it's, again I mentioned delta tending to 0, but whatever I experienced is something very, very, very beautiful. Maybe if you try it, you might also like it. So what happens is the person tries it out, and when the person is seeing, leadership really comes when you look into the person's eyes and you see that the person is not trying to do it for a personal gain. So you can at once make out, people are not fools. Everyone has been given this basic intelligence to be able to figure out, look in the eye and say, look, ye banda theek hai, ye banda theek nahi hai. And what today, the world is one where everybody is trying to take, not trying to give. And that can be recognized. Why should a young person see, looking at the professor's eye, he's saying that, look, this man is not doing it correctly. That cynicism is going to come in immediately. How will it not come in? He goes to work and he finds that his boss, looking in his eye, he says, this guy is not, he's just doing it for his own thing. At once cynicism has to come. But if he sees at any stage, at every stage, previously it used to be, why do we call him a Guru? Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwara. Because the person, the Guru was one who actually gave khule dil se, didn't think of what he is going to get out of it. That sort of people are not there. Where do we have role models like that? So naturally cynicism will come in. You don't find role models, so you say such role models can't even exist. But they can exist. And if we all make an effort, we can get back such gurus. Like, I'm just giving an example of, look at one person, Ustad Alauddin Khan. How many shishya he produced of such a high order? How could he have done it? If they were all cynical, he could never have done it. But he was doing it truly and he used to beat them up. It was not something like that. And I know my father, when I couldn't do something in maths, he would give me one fatak and say, you are son of a mathematician, you can't do the dharam se, and everything would come out. And today we are afraid to touch these students, otherwise they might go and sue us, But a child, I'm telling you, a little child really knows when that person, because I go, now what I do, I go every morning to a play school and I teach in a play school. And for 1 hour I teach them and I'm very strict with them. They're just 1.5 years to 4 years, 3 years, 3. And if they move also, hey, quiet, sit down. But they at once know who's doing it. I'm surprised how that little child knows when you are doing it with anger or when you are doing it for them. It's remarkable. At that age, they know exactly what is happening.
So talk about role models. We have one right in front of us. So thank you so much, Dr. Seth. It's been such nice. I wish that we had more time, but we'll definitely get. Thank you so much for being in our beautiful city. Thank you, sir.